Word hood, I think of a person, a place, and perhaps even a thing. I'm Sir Creepsta, and welcome to Muhlenberg County Ghost Stories from the Hood. Tonight's tale of terror is entitled The Creature in the Woods, Reboot. As I've mentioned on many occasions before, Central City was a melting pot for the strange and the unknown. Once again, the story that I'm about to share with you includes myself, as well as several of my childhood friends. So sit back, relax, grab some snacks, and be terrified by yet another Muhlenberg County ghost story from the hood. As I've mentioned on more than one occasion, growing up in Central City was a blast for the most part. What made this statement to be even more true was because everything that we did for fun and games was done outdoors. There were no PlayStations, Xboxes, or anything utterly resembling those indoor games. We found joy and excitement in simple basic games, such as basketball in the park, or wiffle and softball in the Ebenezer Baptist churchyard, just to name a few. But there were also games that we would play that we as kids made up ourselves. One in particular was a game we called Captain Flag. This was a team game that required you to be able to withstand a certain amount of physical endurance, as well as a certain level of mental toughness. For the most part, those of us who chose to participate in that game were pretty rough and tough kids. But simply put, we all just enjoyed playing the game because it allowed us to venture out all over the town and roam through areas that we normally didn't bother to go to. The object of Captain Flag was to assemble two teams with about 10 of us kids on each team. After the teams were assembled, we would flip a coin to see which team would have the makeshift flag. It would then be up to the team with the flag to designate one of its members to be in possession of the flag itself. The opposing team would then turn their backs and count to 100, while the team with the flag took out running and hiding all over the town. Once reaching the 100 count, the opposing team would then strike out in search of the individual possessing the flag. If any members of the opposing team in possession of the flag were caught, they would be struck repeatedly in the arms, chest, and leg areas until they either gave up or told who in fact had the flag. Yes, before anyone says anything, I know this game seemed to have been very harsh and brutal. But there were never any serious injuries to any of us, and we all simply loved playing this game. More often than not, the individual responsible for keeping the flag was tracked down fairly quickly, and then we would just turn around and switch positions, allowing the team that was in pursuit of the flag to have their turn at doing the exact same thing. The only time that a winner was ever declared was when the team in search of the flag couldn't find the individual with it, and they simply gave up trying. At that point, we would all just gather together in the park and start shouting out the name of the person, telling them to reveal themselves, seeing that the other team had decided to call it quits. On one particular summer's night, back in 1979, we would all find ourselves once again engaging in this fun but seemingly barbaric game of Captain Flag. All was going well, and by around 9 p.m., almost all the members from both teams had assembled back into Gish Park. The team in search of the flag was on the verge of calling it quits, seeing that after torturing all of my members, myself included, they were still unable to get any useful information out of any of my team's members on who the remaining two that were still in possession of the flag. Then out of nowhere, one of the last two remaining members ran down into the park, stating that he had heard us shouting for him, then to turn themselves in. But now it was obvious who in fact had the flag. It was a dear friend of mine that we called Ty. After waiting around for an additional 10 minutes or so, the opposing team finally declared us as the winners for the night. At that point, we all had started to get a little weary, not knowing why Ty still hadn't made its way back to the park. So we all started yelling out to him. to just come out of the hiding because the game was over. But still, no sign from Ty. We were all just about to head out to our homes. And out of nowhere, Ty emerged from the creek located between the park and the woods. We all instantly noticed the frightened and nervous look upon Ty's face as he approached us. But before we could say anything to him, he darted past us so fast it made our heads swim, and he ran to his house, which happened to be the closest of any of ours to the park. It wouldn't be until the following evening, while we were all hanging out in the park, that we would see our dear friend Ty and find out what had scared him so badly the night before. And from what he told us, we all understood why he appeared to have been so frightened. According to Ty, he had made his way into the woods by the park and had been listening in on every word that had been said from all of us. He then said, as he was about to reveal himself, after hearing that the other team had thrown in the towel and had called it quits, he heard the branches that had fallen on the ground from the trees start to crackle and pop as something or someone was making its way towards him. Seeing that it was pitch black dark in the woods, Ty said he was unable to see anything, that the only noticeable thing to him was the smell. He said that the entire section of the woods that he was in suddenly was overtaken by what smelled like a dead carcass. As the dark figure made its way closer to Ty, he said that the smell had gotten so bad that at one point he thought that he was going to vomit on himself. At this time, Ty said he was still unable to make out who or what it was coming towards him. All he knew was that it stunk like hell, and that it appeared to have been a very large figure, and that it made some sort of deep growling sounds. Once the creature had gotten within 15 to 20 feet of Ty, he said that he slowly knelt down into the same position that he had been in, and that it just stayed in that position, only revealing the redness of his eyes. At that point, Ty said he was too scared to run or do anything. After being there to him what seemed to have been an eternity, Ty said he told himself that he knew he had to get out of there. So after getting his nerves together, he said that he slowly eased up from standing position. Then he told who or whatever it was in the woods with him that it was getting late and that they had to be getting home. Still only hearing the heavy breathing and seeing the redness of the creature's eyes, in a desperately last-minute effort, he said he turned and ran through the woods as fast as he could. He crossed the ditch, ran past everyone, and then he didn't stop until he was safely home. After hearing this, it would be months before any of us would even enter into those woods, let alone play Captain Flag in them. And as time went on, whenever any of us were all around Tybone, at the same time, we'd often bring up that night, asking him what it was he stumbled upon him that night in the woods. All he knows is that it made him a firm believer that there are definitely things out there that are human-like roaming the woods and the hoods of Central City. So if you're ever down in Gitch Park at night, and you just happen to hear something walking in the woods, and you then have your breath taken away from you by some god-awful smell, be aware, because it just might be the creature once again staring you down with those red eyes, just waiting to a perfect chance to reveal itself to you. I'm Sir Creepsta, and until next time, stay terrified.